Weeks taking a line out of the Apostles' Creed every Sunday and taking a look at it. So today we're looking at the line in the Apostles' Creed where it says of Jesus, he descended into hell. A very interesting statement. He descended into hell. And so I've chosen the scriptural basis from which that creed statement is made. And we're going to look at it, and we're going to talk about it today. We're going to start with Psalm 139. Psalm 139. And I'm going to read to you Psalm 139, verses 7 through 12. Where shall I go from your spirit? Where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, Sheol is the Hebrew word for the underworld, the world of the dead, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the furthest parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, your right hand shall hold me. If I say, let only darkness cover me and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light for you. Psalm 139. The next reading is from Paul's letter to the Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 4. And from Ephesians 4, I'm going to read you verses 4 through 10. These are the words of the Apostle Paul. Paul says, there is one body, one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope that belongs to your call. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of us all, who is above all and through all and in all. But grace was given to each of us according to the measure of Christ's gift. Therefore it is said, when he ascended on high, he led a host of captives, and he gave gifts to men. In saying he ascended, what does it mean but that he had also descended to the lower parts of the earth? He who descended is he who also ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. Then we're going to turn a little further over to 1 Peter. And from 1 Peter, I'm going to read you from chapter 3, verses 18 through 20. Then I'll skip down to verse 8 of chapter 4. So this is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 18. For Christ also died for sins, once for all, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the Spirit, in which he went and preached to the spirits in prison, who formerly did not obey when God's patience waited in the days of Noah during the building of the ark, in which a few, that is 8 persons, were saved through water. We skip down to chapter 4, and in chapter 4 it's verse 6. This is why the gospel was preached even to the dead, that though judged in the flesh like men, they might live in the spirit like God. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
So I brought you something today that is has a special story behind it, and it's a story about mercy in times of trouble. About mercy in times of trouble. Jesus descended into hell. And so also in our minds, in our hearts, in our spirits, we have our moments of descent. Descent meaning we have our bad days. And when we have our bad days, we need to remember the mercy of God. So let me show you this thing, and let me tell you the story that is behind it. I got this from Sarah Peebler. I don't know if any of you knew Sarah. She lived in Tarboro for a number of years, and we were able to pick this up from her after when she was getting ready to leave Tarboro. It's an old teapot or coffee urn, okay? Made out of silver. It's silver plate. Don't get excited. It's not sterling. It's silver plate, but it's very pretty and it's very old. Sarah used to work for the Seaman's Church Institute. What is that? She worked there for years in New York City. And this sat in the lounge of the Seaman's Church Institute in New York City. It was founded by the Episcopal Church in 1830. And the purpose of the Seaman's Church Institute was to take care of merchant sailors. Because I want you to think about this. Back in the day, when if a ship sailed into New York Harbor back in the 1800s, and let's say there was a sailor on that ship, merchant sailor with a broken leg. Back in the day, they just dumped the guy off and got another one. Pretty much how they did it. If he had a broken arm, no longer able-bodied, just, okay, here's the dock, right? And get another one and off you go. Or what something much more common. If you spent much time around ships and the sea, let's say a merchant sailor gets off the ship and goes to the bar and has a few too many. And then he crawls down to the ship and the ship is gone. He's just stranded there. And so the church, this was the Episcopal Church, they started a mission to these men to help them with their needs. And this was in the lounge where they came. And way back in the day, I want you to think of who got a cup of tea out of this urn. Way back in the day when they had all kinds of trouble, or whatever kind of trouble they had, they made their way to that place and they got a little cup of tea and they got a little care and they got a little ministry and they got a little mercy. It's all about mercy. Mercy in moments of need. That is what the whole story is about. Now, the Seaman's Institute, a little more information. Do you remember that big container ship that hit the bridge in Baltimore? Remember that thing? Okay. The guys on that ship were stuck there 3 months, just stuck there. Who took care of them? It was the Seamen's Church Institute that actually reached out, got them what they needed, and took care of them while they were stranded there. So it's an interesting mission, and it's an interesting story, but the part I want you to remember is the trouble these fellas went through. And when they were in trouble, they had the mercy of a cup of tea, and some sympathy, and some support, a place to stay, medical care, till they could get back home. Mercy in time of need. That's what this descent is all about. Because our understanding of Jesus, our understanding of Christ, our understanding of the love of God always needs to be bigger. Now this line, he descended into hell. Do you know there are churches that take that out of the creed? They don't put that in the creed. They don't put that in the creed because if Jesus actually went down to hell, then he fixed it. He improved it. He brought the gospel to the spirits that were there. And hell, this is so strange, but hell is very important to some churches. Very important. Now, why would hell be real important? Well, if let's say I was a minister and this church was all we had, and let's say y'all were getting out of line. Getting out, because here I'm the preacher and I say, do this, and you don't. Right? Hell is real handy. Just preach that fear. Preach that judgment. Preach that message that says, do this or else. And it's very powerful, and it's very effective, and it's been used. But Presbyterians have always tended to shy away from that kind of preaching towards something that's a little more merciful, a little more positive, a little more open to the unlimited grace and goodness of God. And so we have it in our creed. He descended into hell. That's right there. Now, we start with the psalm, because this wonderful psalm, where shall I go from your spirit? See that right off the bat. The Spirit of God is unlimited in its power and its presence. Where shall I go from your presence? Presence. From the presence of God. Remember the name of Christ, Emmanuel. What does Emmanuel mean? What's it mean? Come on now. Y'all heard it before. Thank you, Richard. God with us. Emmanuel. God is with us. Okay? There is no place you can go where God is not. And being open to the human condition and the troubles we can get in, and the problems we can have, and the pain we can experience, and the loss, and all the troubles that we can get ourselves in, God is always with you. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend into heaven, you're there. If I make my bed under the earth, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the furthest away parts of the sea, even there, your hand shall lead me, your right hand shall hold me. We have our negativities. We have our failures. We have our troubles, our diseases, our injuries, our illnesses. But God is always with us. If I say, let only darkness cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day. Darkness is as light, because God is light. And so when we're in darkness, the darkness is really only the imagination of our hearts, because God is still with us. God's light is still shining upon us, always, always, always there. Now we can get carried away with our own negativity. Now when it comes to hell, I believe firmly that Jesus went there. And I believe when he went there, his being there was transcendent of time and space, and he brought the gospel even there. And what that means is that when he left the door wide open, busted it right off the hinges. And this has been said in a lot of different authors and that have spoken about this, that they call it the harrowing of hell, that he shook the whole place up, changed it all, so that the only people there are those who choose to be there. And when I say choose to be there, you have to understand that people get lost in darkness. They get lost in their own negative attitude. They get lost in the failures and injuries of living. They get lost in their anger. They get lost in all kinds of ways. And that's why our mission is mercy and love and care, to lift them out of that despair. 1 John chapter 4 says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and he who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love." Just like God is light. That the whole point of knowing God is knowing the mercy and the goodness that comes from God. And so Paul really brings it around in a complete way, where he basically reminds us that which goes down must come up. That he who ascended, descended. He who descended, ascended. And this is our condition. This is our lives. This is us. We will descend. We're gonna have our low moments. We're gonna have our moments of darkness. We're gonna have our moments of sorrow, our moments of pain, and our moments of anger, and our moments of loss. All that's gonna happen. But if we just abide in faith, just hold on to the love of God, God raises us up and gets us exactly where we need to go. That there is one God, one Spirit, one mercy, one love that is there for us in Jesus Christ. And it's unlimited. It's everywhere. It's for everyone. All we have to do is just accept the goodness, the love, the light, the mercy. And so I'll end where I began, with the tea that was in that pot, with the hardship those sailors went through, the loss, the injury, the failure, and ended up dumped out in New York Harbor with no place to go in 1920, 100 years ago. There they were, in their own personal way, in hell, with everything falling apart. And they found their way to this place, and they found their way to a cup of tea. And in that is the story of the mercy of God. Our mission is to show that mercy, to bring it to them all. Amen.